Islam.
Islam. Oh, it's on you right now, AGS. Nobody else. Islam. You have the floor.
I rise high on the seven, giving perfect praise to Allah. I give honors to our illustrious and illustrious forefathers, the Honorable Marcus Messiah, Garvin, Noble Drew. We honor all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. Peace and blessings be upon all of Allah's prophets.
Islam.
O Allah, expand for me my chest and ease for me my task, and untie the knot of my tongue that they may understand me. Alhamdulillah. Happy holy day.
Be holy day.
High honors to everyone who spoke before myself. Hope all is truly well with everyone. Beautiful chapter, chapter
Islam.
6. And I'm going to get straight to key 3. When Jesus stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravanna heard and was amazed. What is your demonstration like? It's an art to calling people to anything. It's an art to doing anything where you're gonna bring people towards you. One of the places I go to before we do anything, he said, before we do this, let's purify our intentions. He says it acts like a magnet to bring things to you. Some things repel, some things bring things to you. So we know that what was Ravana's response? He saw something and it was this attraction to it. So how you demonstrate it isn't necessarily, we probably all heard this saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. A
Islam.
lot of people have knowledge, but their attitude and about how they go about expressing that knowledge turn people off, turn them away from them. So now, because of your bad character or the bad way you demonstrate your knowledge in an arrogant or condescending manner, the point is lost. The crowd is lost. So this is important how we demonstrate in public and in private. So when we get to key 10, he said he found the object of his search engaged in building dwellings for the sons of men. And when he saw Jesus, he was climbing up the 12-step ladder. He carried in his hands a compass, a square, and an X. So private and public. What Ravanna saw out in the public, he didn't telephone Jesus. He didn't send him no letter like I'm on the way. So someone randomly pop up at your house. Are you who you say you are? Is your house dirty? Is it dishes in the sink? See, when he came to Jesus' house, he was demonstrating. It wasn't just, so this is something also that shows us about sincerity and integrity. You cannot be publicly righteous and religious and then at home you slandering, you backbiting, you gossiping, you doing it, and then when someone comes to your house, you trying to put things under the bed. You trying to hide it, or what they say, we all got skeletons in our closet. So we see that Jesus, he matched on both sides, and this is what happens next. Is I think is very important. Then Ravanna said, "All hail, the most favored son of heaven." And then he made a feast, and what his parents, Jesus and his parents, were honored guests. See, the honor comes after someone knows that what you say out loud, you living by. That's when the honor comes. So people sometimes grant honor to people, and they only demonstrate one side of the equation. So it's like you don't know that's a block of wood because you haven't seen them in the private. You only know what they saying publicly, but privately, their life is a wreck. But outside, that it seemed like they standing on what they say. So it's important that if you're gonna follow somebody's teaching, that you see both sides of this person. You see that what they say they living by. And this is what I take from what Ravanna saw. And after this, he was already amazed because he was speaking the talk. But then when he saw him living, he said, "Oh, hold on. It's time for us to eat. It's time for us to, you are my honored guest." Things changed at that point because you're living what you're talking about. So private and public, integrity and sincerity. We know we have chapters on sincerity, and it's these go a long way when we're talking about, as far as like Islamically, what they call dawah, or calling people to the faith. You can't call someone to something you're not really doing. You can speak the talk, but as we in the chapters before, it talks about the block of wood demonstration. So after we learn in chapter 5 about the symbolic meaning of the carpenter's tool, now we see someone demonstrating it. And like the brother Kamal Saad, the good brother said, he said he was able to recognize his character. He was able to recognize it. And so this is very beautiful. So I'll end with a couple quotes about knowledge and knowledge being put into action, because that's really what I'm getting from this demonstration from our brother Jesus, that what he was living or what he was talking, he was living in public and private, and you don't have to let him know. Some people like, hey, don't show up to my house uninvited. Jesus, you can show up at any time. Because if it's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and the truth don't change or pass away, why somebody got to give you a forward notice? Hey, I'm coming over. No, no one got to let you know that. And this is just important for all of us to reflect upon. And so these couple last keys about knowledge, it says, knowledge is associated with practice. He who knows will put his knowledge into practice. Knowledge calls unto practice, and if practice answers the call, knowledge will stay. Otherwise, knowledge will leave. Do not turn your knowledge into arrogance or your certainty into doubt. Once in possession of knowledge, practice it. And if you are certain about a thing, take action. And that's what we see with our brother Jesus. He put his knowledge into action. We heard the chairman, he talked about wisdom. You can't, later it say the oil and how it appointeth it later in the chapters, that you have to work to produce this oil of wisdom. A lot of people may have knowledge, but wisdom is lived through experience. Now that you're doing something, you know the ins and outs. Now you know things that you only know by going through the experience. Oh, and when we talk about we're more scientists, one critical thing about science is called the having a hypothesis. This is the basis of just science. A hypothesis is a testable theory. It means you can work out the sums. It tells us in another chapter that they worked out life sums you haven't. So your theories, it can't just all be theology. It can't just all be beliefs. It says belief is lost in faith, and faith is what man knows to be true. Belief is what man believes to be true or thinks is true. So how do you go from thinking something is true to knowing something is true? How do you take that next step? And that becomes what I see in this chapter. How do we take that next step from moving from belief to faith? You have to work on what you know. You have to live by what you know. You have to apply the teachings. And as you apply the teachings, that oil of wisdom will be anointed. You'll have that on you. So with that, I yield the floor. Happy Holy Day.
Islam. That was our brother, King Ali Bey, Assistant Grand Sheik, Oakland, California, Temple Number 1, and also our National Treasurer of the United Moorish Science Temple of America is unfoldment. He read from chapter 6, verse 3. And he said that before you do anything or begin anything, you purify your intentions. That's Islam, you know. And he unfolded on public and private. And he said, Ravana, when he saw Jesus, you know, in the public, he was amazed. But also, when he came to the house, he was amazed also. Well, not even amazed, was probably, it was warm to see that with who you were in public, you are in private, you know. And he said, live what you speak. And that was, he said, so we have to live what we speak, because that's the confirmation. Sometimes, and I was just saying before that, I was memorizing, but I didn't have no application. And I don't think the oil was coming, you know, down like the more was speaking about in my younger days of Moorish science. And they spoke about a block of wood. That's the pointer. You know, he said he was able to recognize the character. He was able to recognize his character. Ravana recognized the character of Jesus. He said, you can show up anytime. Now that's that's a beautiful thing. You know, because he said you can show up anytime to Jesus' home, and it was going to be in order. And I remember times when people used to come over to the house when you was younger, and your mom told you clean up, you didn't clean up, and now somebody coming over, you throwing everything behind the dresser, you putting a blanket over it, you know, you kind of rigged the whole room, open the windows, but it looked clean, but in all sense, it's dirty, you know. And that reminded me of those days when he said that. He said, knowledge calls into practice. Praise Allah. Because I noticed that when I read the Circle 7, it convicts you. You read Quran or any sacred teaching, it convicts you. You know, even when you go through life and you say something, you tell someone, it convicts you to the point that you have to get up the next day. Hey, remember I said that? No, I can't. It wasn't like that. When I read it, I was wrong. It meant it like this. You know, it'll make you correct yourself, and that's a good thing. That's Islam. He said you have to work. You have to work to produce this oil of wisdom. That was what they call a bar. You have to work to produce the oil of wisdom, and it does come with purity in life. But we don't have to take the sum total. sometimes we try to get the whole thing. I noticed that I had to break my meals up in portions, light portions. I only can live what I can understand. And so, we stop competing with wisdom, and you just get what Allah gives you instead of trying to compete, with other people's wisdom. You just give whatever Allah grants you, you just unfold on that. And if, like you say, if you teach that one technique, do a one technique 1,000 times, you come off, more proficient than somebody doing 1,000 techniques one time. And so that's what we do in Moorish science. We don't have to, wherever Allah have you, you can stay in that. And you can weigh all of life against that one chapter. If you used to reading one chapter, man, weigh life against that one chapter. Ayat is always on your heart. You can weigh all of the life to that one ayat, and it'll help you go into other ayat. So thank you, brother, King Ali Bey, who always give an excellent demonstration, and when it unfolds, like all the Moors, Islam. Praise Allah, world of wisdom. Our Grand Sheik.
Islam, Moorish peace and love.
Islam,
I
peace
rise
and
high
love.
in heaven, giving perfect praise to Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the worlds, almighty, eternal, incomprehensible, the one who is supreme, most wise, and beneficent. In him alone belongs worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. I give honor to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. I give honor to my illustrious and illustrious forefathers, the Harbinger, Marcus Messiah Garvey, and the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I extend honor to all Sheik, Sheikesses, guests, members, and all within the sound of my voice. I greet you all with the humble words of peace. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Moors, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. Happy Holy Day. What an honor it is to hear from you, Moors. What an honor it is to worship under my own vine and fig tree, especially in this new era of time, Islam. I honor to everyone who spoke before me. You Moors answered well. What an honor it is to be a student in this sacred school and be taught, Islam. Tonight we're building on chapter 6, beautiful chapter. The keys that stuck out to me. I start with key 10 and 11. He found the object of his search engaged in building dwellings for the sons of men. And when he first saw Jesus, he was climbing a 12-step ladder. And he carried in his hands a compass, a square, and an axe. Islam. So tonight, holy meeting, we're talking about building. Islam. But not building in the form of wood or brick, but in the greater construction, the building of the human soul. Islam. We are given I would say, a powerful picture of our brother Jesus. He is seen working with simple tools. He is climbing a ladder, and in his hands is a square, a compass, and an axe. He tells us something that should make us curious and stop us in our tracks. If you're a thinker, he says, these tools remind me of the ones that we use in the workshop of the mind where we build up character. So the question tonight is, what are we building within ourselves? And are we using the right tools, and are we using them properly? Because every one of us is under construction, whether you believe it or recognize it or not. Jesus is first seen climbing a ladder, a 12-step ladder. And what that taught me is that growth is not just one big jump. You grow in degrees. The understanding unfolds level by level. Nobody becomes righteous overnight. Nobody becomes disciplined in a day. And nobody becomes a leader in a moment. We rise by steps. Each lesson we must apply. Each correction we accept. And each temptation we master. If we refuse to step, we'll stay exactly where we are. Jesus says the square is used to straighten out the crooked places of the way to make the corners of our conduct square. So a builder knows if the foundation is off, the whole building will crumble and fall or even lean. So the square asks us, are you honest? Are you fair? Are you dependable? Do your actions match your words? The square is about integrity when nobody is watching. It is about being upright in business, upright in family, and upright even in your temple duties. When a man becomes square within himself, people can lean on him. You become a pillar. Then he speaks about the compass, to draw circles around your passions and desires, to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. This is one of the greatest sciences of life. Why? Because we all have desires. To eat, to speak, to possess things, to lead, to respond when your emotions arise. But without boundaries, desires become your destruction. The compass teaches us control, not suppression, but direction. It says, yes, you may have power, but use it correctly. Yes, you may feel anger, but govern it. Yes, you may want success, but earn it lawfully. The circle protects us from going too far, from getting out of the bounds of righteousness. A life without moral boundaries will collapse like a building on a bad foundation. Then comes a tool that many people fear. Speaking for myself, the axe. The axe cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts to make the character symmetrical. Most of us don't mind adding. It's pretty easy to add, but very few people have the confidence to subtract. But perfection comes with the removal of things. We must cut things away. What must be cut away? Our bad habits, our excuses, our addictions, our negative thinking, our pride, our procrastination, anything that keeps us away from our higher self. The axe is our reason and will in action. It is when you finally say, I'm done with the things that are harming me. Every swing makes you lighter, and every cut reveals your true form. We often talk about building temples, building businesses, and uplifting fallen humanity. But we must first recognize that the first temple is you. You are the stone, you are the builder, you are the work. If the inner temple is in disorder, then the outer work will struggle. But when the inside becomes disciplined, upright, and controlled, the outer success flows naturally. So tonight we must ask ourselves, because we know that the business of man is reflection. Where do I need to square up my life? Where must I draw circles with my compass? And what needs to be cut away with the axe? Because Allah cannot elevate what refuses to improve. Growth requires participation. But the beautiful part, the easy part, the understanding part is in this classroom that it's not a mysterious thing. It's practical. We have the blueprint. We have the instructions. It comes with daily correction, daily discipline, daily refinement, step by step, tool by tool, right? So may Allah give us the strength to build wisely, the courage to cut away what must go, and the discipline to remain upright. Islam. Happy Holy Day, Moors. With that, I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam, happy holy day. Praise Allah, our Grand Sheik, for the will of Cyrus Bay. Grand Sheik Temple number 1 in Oakland. I just started writing and started listening. Oh, that was an excellent unfoldment. He read from chapter 6 in verse 10. Found it, the object of his search. He reflected on building a human soul. And what hit me, he said, without boundaries, desires become destruction, or another word he used. You look at that, without a boundary, just imagine if the ocean didn't have a boundary. It's, how many towns and how many beach houses would be ripped. We just praise Allah that Allah just, he set bounds that things can't cross. And Grand Sheik is speaking about, when I just speak about, I'm thinking about as he speak, the breath of heaven. This way should thy billows roll and no other. Thus high should I raise thy fury. This is in man, how he got to tell his passions and desires, like to lay down. Praise Allah for the coming of Ramadan, because this is a yearly exercise, and a yearly wash, that help us with what the Grand Sheik is speaking about right now. It help us get used to setting boundaries, and he said, what are we building within? He said, we have to rise in steps, and that's the whole thing. Sometimes we can see where people are, You know, it's all, if you look at the Shaolin Temple, they got 36 chambers. When you come in, you in the first chamber. Don't try to look over the wall to the second chamber. You just get what's in your chamber, and then you move to the second chamber. Sometimes it's almost like, I remember an elder told me one time. He said, "You're not humble." I said, "I apologize. What did you see? What did I do?" He said, "Why would you open a book and crack it open to the middle of the book? You didn't read the preface." And I was like, I never thought about that. He said, "You're not humble. You didn't even understand, the preface. You don't even know who writing the book. You don't understand the author." And that, that hit me just on, temptations and humility. And he said, each temptation we have to master. He said, basically, you have to have integrity when no one is watching. And he went to end it with the tools we fear. He said, we love to add. We love to add, but when it comes to removing, he said, man, that's a lower self to me. I remember I had 22 pair of shoes. Well, I only wore 5 pair of shoes every day. I don't mean to be too long-winded, but it's on what the Grand Sheik is speaking about. Did you know every time I'm finna clean out my closet to give those shoes away I haven't worn in 3 years, I say I can still rock these. That was all lower self. And even after that, it's hard to remove. Praise Allah, for the reflection is the business of man. And, give honors to the Grand Sheik for that unfoldment, because, the study itself, when you turn it into yourself, that's when you get the true value, out of the lessons, when, we put ourselves, up under the scalpel and, working on ourselves. So praise Allah for the tools we handle in the workshop of the mind and the divine hospital. Thank you for your unfoldment, Grand Sheik. Praise Allah. Islam.